music, just clear that shot. Hang on. You had the music playing. Welcome, Grumpy.
Hello.
Oh my goodness, what a day we've had this morning. Just to quickly fill in our viewers who may not watch us in Discord, this morning we've had a little bit of fun. So I had no power from 7:30 a.m. this morning Sydney time. It's now 11 o'clock. We got the power back about 9:45. And at 9:45, we started to do the show stuff, getting everything together, and everything was all good. The internet was up, and I was wondering why no one was joining in Rendezvous. And I was expecting Grumpy to be there at that time, and John and our guest. And the next thing you know, well, Rendezvous wasn't working anymore. And I thought, why is that? Had a look, and I had no internet. So I'm guessing that Telstra or NBN or both saw that there was a power outage earlier and thought, well, let's go and fix it. Well, they fixed it real good.
Yeah, as usual.
Yeah. And anyway, long story short, then a couple of minutes before go live time, everything was working again. But I'd already told John, our regular co-host, and Coldflake, our guest for today, look, the show's off.
Yeah.
So John had already got on his boat, not his houseboat, but the other boat to go from the boat to go to the shore and puttering off in the middle of the river over there. So I said, look, don't worry about it. Go and do whatever you're in the middle of doing instead. So he's all good. Coldflake actually is in the middle of some interesting places as well. I'm going to read you the message I got from him. Let me load this one. He said, I had to go to Cyprus in a hurry because my wife's dad is not feeling well. I don't know what the details of that are. I'll either be in a plane, an airport, or a taxi at the time of the show. I can still pop in, but it will be handheld instead of, sitting at home as he regularly does when he comes in. So apologies for everything this morning. Everything that possibly could go wrong did.
Yep.
Grumpy, did you cross a black cat or something?
I don't know because I lost a monitor today. I have two monitors, and so I lost one of my monitors. It just kept going into standby mode, and so I couldn't figure out what to do. And I finally unplugged it, and I happened to have a 19-inch.
So, Grumpy, your audio is very, very low compared to mine. I'm just going to get my producer to open that Soundesk application, that blue one.
Yeah. Let's see if I can crank mine up a little
That's
bit.
all right. No, that's all right. And fader number 2, not number 1, the second one. There we go. Crank him up.
Yeah. All right.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, that's a little bit better. So, yeah, we've just had a lot of fun this morning. And this is not going to be the regular show by any stretch of the imagination. John's not here. Our guest is, well, I told him as well when we had the internet problems, you don't have to worry about coming. But I did send him an update saying it's back on. So he may or may not join, but all sorts of stuff happening. Anyway, let's get on with it. We're going to talk about the news, even if we have other weird stuff happening. OzByDrone news, as always, is brought to you by AirData UAV. Is your drone healthy or is it about to surprise you on your next flight? Don't wait to find out. Discover under the hood information and review the early signs of problems before you take off again. You can use a discount code OzByDrone20 to get a 20% discount. There is a link in the description down below. And I will briefly say that we're also supported by No Limit Drones. Those guys and the person who was going to be our guest today, unfortunately, he's not here. But let me just say, if you feel your drone is weighed down by chains when you're flying, well, take the chains off and fly without limitations. Go to nolimitdrones.com for more information. So let's get into our first story, which is this one. And I don't even know if any of this is going to work today because we didn't really finish setting it properly. We'll see what happens. So for this one, a collaborative project in Botswana is getting essential and emergency healthcare products to remote communities quicker than ever before. Botswana's challenge stem from its geography and sparsely distributed population. In many places, delivery by car is too slow, by helicopter too expensive. Now they've got a potential drone solution. So this story was picked up by SUAS News. We saw it there and thought we'd bring it to you here today. I'm just going to get into some of the detail on my screen here in front of me. Some of the detail they say there, one of every 100,000 babies born in Botswana in 2019, 166 died out of every 100,000. So healthcare there is not exactly great compared to the West, but they're using these drones and these aircraft to help provide medical care in a sparse population, as I mentioned in the intro.
Yeah. What is the name of that country again?
Botswana.
Okay. Well, I noticed when you said it the first time, you added an R to it, sort of like I do Washington.
Thanks, Grumpy. Botswana is an African country, and compared to some of the other parts of Africa, it's a little bit better off financially than a lot of the other ones. It's one of the not at the bottom end, but their challenge, as I said, is sparse population. They need to move things around, and certainly drones are helpful for them.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it.
Let's go on to our second story today. By the way, Grumps, do me a favour and throw in the rendezvous link in the chat, because we may or may not have a guest and we're just flying by the seat of our Wirecast.
All right.
Who knows what'll happen. This is our second story of the day. Valancy is a company we've looked at before, and this footage is from a recent Valancy flight between... How do you say that?
Valancy on the Outer Banks, North Carolina.
Yeah, this footage... Hatteras?
Hatteras. Hatteras and Ocracoke Island. Down that one, I don't know, but the first one's Hatteras.
Okay. Well, it's a flight between those two places to demonstrate drone delivery of emergency supplies. Let's have a look. So this is the North Carolina Department of Transportation who's provided this footage. And I love this aircraft compared to some of the others we've seen around before. At the very beginning, in fact, let's rewind that. Go back to the very beginning of that clip. I want you to pay attention to the quad props. So the quad props right there, they're not spinning at all. The only prop providing any thrust is that center one there.
Great, yeah.
So only when it's coming down for a landing, the front,
right,
the thrust prop at the center one there turns off. The other ones are coming in for a landing.
Akira Show wants to know what the toddler rating is on that.
What the what rating is?
Toddler rating. Will it lift a toddler?
Toddler rating. Let's have a look. So if I click on that one, in fact, no, that story didn't have that much detail it was in. It was just a tweet in there. So I couldn't tell you offhand the lifting capacity of that one, but it is designed for delivery. So could it be a stork? Possibly if it was a small baby, but we don't want to talk about that too much. Our next one today.
Yeah, I see this one.
Caught in the act, Oklahoma City recently deployed a drone to find a suspect, allowing the technology help to play a significant role in de-escalation while still achieving their law enforcement objectives.
It seems that law enforcement and public safety is going more towards drone usage. And the reason why that is because they're economically beneficial, the technology on them is so advanced, and it provides, safety for both citizens and officers. It provides almost a de-escalation tool for it to ride on scene and before officers show up on scene and provide them information about what's going on before they get there. I was contacted by Hefner lieutenants in reference to a pursuit that officers had got into. Subject had bailed out of a vehicle. They believed that he might be armed. They advised that the suspect had went down into a drainage ditch. So it was a steep embankment that both, it was rocky, so it was difficult ingress and egress out. There was little cover or concealment for officers to go down there and try to apprehend the suspect. So whenever they contacted me, they asked me if I could deploy the drone, and I did. And in doing so, our drone has different attachments that you can utilize for certain situations. One has a loudspeaker to give commands to a suspect. Another one has a spotlight, and the other one provides a strobe function. With that too, it's got a built-in thermal imaging system. So I was able to attach my spotlight to it, and I was able to hover down almost at an eye level and spot the suspect inside the canal. And in doing so, officers and I were able to give him commands, and he was able to surrender peacefully without us having to take any type of force.
So as a method of apprehending someone without a use of force, it was helpful in that circumstance. What do our audience and viewers think of that one today? Good idea, bad idea, too much, too little?
Yeah. I wonder how much street cred you lose when you're in prison and people find out you surrendered to a drone.
Yeah, there is a little bit of that.
That's, and the typical, this story was covered last night on Ken Heron's show, and he was talking about, is that the prerequisite to be a criminal is to wear the wife beater shirt? It seems like in Oklahoma this time of year, yeah, they're probably all wearing wife beater shirts, but we don't have the brightest criminals anyway, so.
Yeah. I didn't know it was on Ken's show. Apologies for doubling up. I was busy.
Oh,
by the way, what was I doing yesterday? I was having a hole in my nose done and a hole in the top of my head. Just some.
So did they put the rings back in?
They did. They put them back in. It's all good.
Good. Yeah, good. Glad. Obviously, it's not helping because the show still had a bad start, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere. We need more planning. We need to plan for failures and things like that. And just as
I was planning on taking a nap.
Just like fire departments need to plan for fire, but what about residents? People who live in areas prone to wildfire are coming to understand the importance of hardening their homes. Now, a startup company is using aerial 3D photography to identify fire risk and to make the task of creating a defensible space a lot easier.
Meanwhile, thousands of Californians have lost their homes in the recent fires. KPIX5's John Ramos has more on how one company is using drones and 3D technology to keep homes safe from wildfires.
This forest in Sonoma County near Calistoga burned just last year in the glass fire, and it's things like this that are making people who live in this area very serious about home hardening.
The Tubbs fire in 2017 changed Bill Dyer's mind about living in a house in the middle of the woods.
We thought that was a cool thing. Once you've been through these fires, looking out your window and seeing trees has a different impact.
So Bill cleared a defensible space around the house, but when the glass fire burned right up to his driveway, he decided he needed professional help and turned to a new company called Fire Maps. They use drones to create a three-dimensional image of the property that shows in minute detail the conditions of the home and the surrounding tree canopies.
And from that, we're able to create a prioritized list of treatments that would best help reduce their fire risk.
Fire Maps co-founder Sharuk Khanna says work is underway to trim Bill's trees, removing dead branches that can act as kindling. They also swapped out the eave vents for ones that can seal up under high heat. And Fire Maps found this wall grate that could allow burning embers directly into the house.
It's not in the field of view. It's not usually something you are aware of as a homeowner of how many vents do I have, what kind of vents do I have, what kind of mesh is on them.
The homeowner gets a detailed list of recommendations, including immediate fixes and those that can be phased in over several years. But scheduling contractors can be a difficult task, so Fire Maps helps find companies to do the work, saving the homeowner time and the contractor money by using the 3D rendering.
Which allows contractors to then look at and bid on the project without having to show up on site.
And perhaps the best thing about Fire Maps is its price. It's free to homeowners. The cost is borne by the contractors for getting more work. Bill still has his own work to do, but he says he's come to appreciate living in woods that are not quite so thick.
When I look out this direction, it's more park-like. It's a managed forest, and that's what it needs to be.
In Sonoma County, John Ramos, KPIX5.
Fire Maps updates its renderings each time major work is done, and they say that could be valuable for convincing insurance companies to continue coverage in those high-risk areas.
So that's an interesting business model for someone doing 3D maps. Instead of going and charging for that service, do it for free, but manage contractors, get the contractors to give you kickbacks to cover your flying, and everyone wins.
Right. Yeah, kickbacks kind of has a bad connotation, but yeah, I mean, you
Commissioned.
commissioned, yeah, these contractors could commission you to go do that, and then you could you go in and do it for free for the homeowners, or the insurance companies could pay the that would be a good hire out for the insurance companies as well.
Mm.
Good
I don't know.
incentive for
I
them.
don't know that I'd want to necessarily do it through insurance companies. They're not known for good rates for pilots. I certainly know that the rates that some of the insurance companies pay for people going and doing work after a storm,
Right.
not particularly a great way to
Yeah.
run a business. But if you're doing something like that, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. It does, especially with I mean, like you said, the contractors that would be clearing out the trees, they could come in. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that do that. They go in and give that free service, and if you choose them, well, then you choose them. If you don't, well, they've lost some money, but hopefully you'll choose them.
Absolutely.
Good business practice that way.
Let's move on. This one is listed as an illegal crossing as the title for this one. Drones equipped with thermal imaging are helping border surveillance in Laredo, Texas.
And drone video released by Border Patrol shows the moment nearly a dozen individuals crossed the border south of Laredo. The video was captured during the early morning hours last Wednesday. Agents at the South Station responded to the area and were able to arrest 9 undocumented immigrants after they attempted to avoid arrest by running across the highway.
It's a good use of drone technology as long as, look, the topic of immigration and border protection is never a good one. You want to help people who are genuinely in need of help, but there are those who abuse the system as well. So put that to one side. Trying to manage it, I think drone technology is helpful and useful.
I think for the Border Patrol, because of the situation down at our border right now, they need something like that. There's not enough Border Patrol officers to cover the area, but if they have drones, that just makes their job easier. Then they can deploy agents out there to get those that are coming across illegally. No matter how you feel about it, that's not, that drone being there is not putting an officer's life at risk, or the other people's lives, the immigrants' life at risk at just that point. So once you see they're doing something illegal, like anybody else, you go do what you got to do and leave the politics out of it, but do what you're required to do at that point.
Yeah. Let's just remind people that if you're in the audience today and you want to come on the screen, come and say hello, chat about some of the things we got here. That'd be really cool. Let's have a pause from the news for a little while. Now, we were going to have our guest at this point. This is where we normally do our guest, and we were going to have a big giveaway today. But because he's not here, I'm going to make it 2 weeks for people to enter the competition rather than before next show. So what are we giving away? So we've previously given away to, I think it was Joe Blaylock, if I remember correctly.
I believe he won, yes.
Yeah, a 2.5 watt signal booster, which will operate on both the Wi-Fi bands used by most common drones. So I was going to get his address details and give them to Coldflake today. So Joe, just email it to me and I'll make sure that he gets that. But here's what I'm going to suggest. From now until 2 weeks from today, you've got that long to enter. You've got to do 2 things. One, show a photo of some project that you've been involved in where you needed to use a soldering iron. Why? Because to use this product, you do need to have soldering skills. The second thing you need to do to enter is to put in your own words, how will a Wi-Fi signal booster help you in your drone flying in what you do? What is it going to do for you? Why is it going to be useful to you? Just put a few words together. Coldflake is going to be the one to judge the entries, not me. He's going to have a look at them, and whoever's got the best example of why this is good, he'll be picking that together with the example of the Akirasho.
I was going to translate. I was going to translate for the folks. For y'all that don't speak Australian, he's talking about a soldering iron, not a soldering iron, but a soldering iron. You know, so he's not soldiering along; he's soldering. That's
Okay.
American.
Thanks, Akirasho. Thanks for making sure. Thunderbird 6, it will give me the ability to fly further away and crash. No, that is not a good answer. We want everyone to improve their safety at all times. So let's move on with that. So the competition, how do you enter? Let me quickly go and put that on the screen right now. To enter, you need to send an email to this email address, upload@gregkuhnert.com. Include a photo of any project that you've done where you've used, what was it, Grumpy?
Soldering iron, a soldering iron.
Or if you don't live in America and you speak the Queen's English, a soldering iron, because it's got the letter L in it. Send a photo of that and also explain why you think a signal booster will be useful to you. And by the way, there's something different about this one compared to a lot of the other products on the market. You've seen people who've got like antenna reflectors that sit behind the antennas and kind of redirect the signal in a single direction. That's not what this does.
Yep.
It's actually an antenna amplifier, and it's bidirectional.
Booster, isn't it?
Yeah, power booster. Half of it sits inside your drone, half of it sits inside your controller, and away you go. Okay, so again, that's the first thing, the competition. Second thing, if anyone wants to come on screen today and have a chat, say hello, you're welcome to do so. We'd love to have you be part of a informal panel to have a chat about what you're doing recently with your flying. So Grumpy, put the link up one more time and we'll see what happens. While we do that, let's continue with our news. The next one we've got here, we've got some Sydney views, some views from Sydney. This stunning Instagram photo was taken by a user called JY Visual. He says that he loves photos, videos, and lame jokes, and seeing Sydney with a fresh perspective. Even more impressive is the time-lapse video of Sydney Harbour Bridge on his Instagram page. Check this out. Just the way that he captured the clouds and the light, and it happened to be able to be looped. This was really cool.
That is cool.
I could watch that for hours and hours. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So I've actually invited him to come on and to be a guest at some point in the future. I'm yet to get an answer back, but hopefully he'll agree to come on. He's got some beautiful, beautiful shots in his collection. Okay, our next one we're going to have a look at today is titled Water Level. When Moses parted the waters, he did not have a drone to record the occasion. But these Belgian cyclists reached eye-to-eye contact with the ducks on a bike path, which cuts through a lake. Have a look at this. This reminds me very much of, I think it was Universal Studios where they had the tram tour that goes through the water.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
D'abord, il y a, je dirais, un ouvrage qui est.
Well, we don't understand that, but you get the idea.
It's got subtitles.
Une sensation assez incroyable.
Nice.
It is cool, though.
It is cool visually. I don't know if it's just coincidence that the water happened to be at that level or if it's normally at that level and they've got some other runoff point to go and prevent it from flooding into the path.
Well, it looks like it's almost an infinity pool, but you don't see where the water's going over the edge of it. So that's what's really
exactly
unique about it.
We got Trevor there sitting in Rendezvous. We'll bring him in a couple of moments.
Oh, it is an infinity pool. I saw how they did it.
Oh, no, it's not Trevor. It's Alexis.
It's Alexis, yes. And that's an infinity pool, or it's an infinity design. That wall on that one side is...
It's got a channel inside?
Actually goes... Yeah.
Inside, yeah.
Inside of the water actually goes into the wall. So it puts it, you know... You could
very, very cool.
The guy was running his hand along it. Yeah.
Okay, so if anyone is ever going to Belgium, you can go and check that one out. There's a link to all of our news videos in the description today, so do go and check those out. Now let's go and say hello to our pop-in guest. G'day, Alexis.
Hello. Oops.
Oh, she's got a microphone.
I have a mic.
Okay.
I need to turn this down though. Let me hold on. I'm getting double.
You know, one time I'm
turn down your YouTube.
Yeah, turn off your YouTube. Otherwise, you will hear double.
Okay. Now
close the
there we
YouTube
go.
window.
Got it.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
You know, after we finish today, if anyone wants to chat on Discord, one of the things I'll show you, Alexis, is tricks that you can use to get rid of that kind of room noise in your microphone. So when you hear this back, you can hear this kind of background noise.
I have a ice maker running. That might be it.
Could be. But even if you have an ice maker running, I don't know if you guys know this, but running the titling software causes the fans on my MacBook here sitting next to me to spin up pretty fast, and yet it's still filtered out a lot. So not perfect, but it's not bad. So what's been happening for you, Alexis?
I've been doing some more FPV flying. Not in manual or acro. I'm not really ready for that. But in sport and normal mode, sport's plenty fast for me. It's with the DJI FPV, and it's been a blast. It's really I've actually flown that more than a real airplane for once. So, it's very immersive, and I can see why y'all are completely hooked. It's kind of like a drug, you know. You gotta Got to practice though, because I can't even imagine how the FPV pilots do what they do. I just, in fact, even in sport mode, I have to lean against my truck so I don't lose my, well, not so much my balance. I don't really get vertigo or dizzy or anything, but it's just, I'm always expecting that I might, you know.
Yeah.
So I lean against the truck just to make sure I don't.
Have you done a line of sight hover yet? Just forget the goggles for a minute and just so that you can get used to manual mode hover.
Yes, that was actually the first thing I did. With the FP, the DJI FPV, I flew it sight at first, and the first flight I did was with the motion controller, which I don't know if that was a mistake or not. But I think I mentioned this on one of your previous shows. I've totally forgot everything that I thought I remembered. So, yeah, but the problem I had on the last flight was, the DJI joystick, or the controller rather, I'm sorry. On the back of it, you can pop the back off and you can adjust the tension of the left stick. And so until you get to acro, you're supposed to, when you let go, it's supposed to spring back to the center. Well, I had it like that, but I must have not had it tightened or loosened or whatever to the point where I should have. So
me personally, I'm not a FPV flyer, but from what I understood, it's more so the taking away the tension. A lot of FPV flyers prefer not to have tension.
Right.
So much on that left stick.
Yeah, with the FPV, the DJI FPV, that's just too many letters. When you let go of the stick, it's supposed to go to, well, I don't have it with me, but for the sake of argument, I'll just use color. So the left stick, if I can get into some better light here, the left stick is supposed to bounce back to the center like that. And when you're in acro mode, you want it so that when you have to actually, it won't go to the center. Where it's at is where it's at. And so anyway, the point I'm trying to make is the tension actually changed on me and it wouldn't pop back to center. So I let go thinking it would, and it was all the way.
Whoops.
I had it down and I would let go of it so it would go, but it just stayed down. So the drone was just,
free falling.
Yeah. So I caught it in time because I had enough altitude, but that was a bit of a surprise. So anybody that flies the DJI FPV, just be aware that could happen. I didn't crash, so that was good.
I say, Grumpy, you look like you're about to ask something.
No, I was just thinking because, with FPV, with a standard FPV, you have zero spring tension in there. I mean, there is none, So
right.
I'm wondering if when you switch to acro, if that may have automatically changed the spring tension, or did you actually go in there and adjust it yourself at one point?
Yeah, when I first got the drone, I was reading through the directions and watching some YouTube videos, and people were talking about adjusting it so it does not have tension, so that when you let go of it, it doesn't go to the center position. It's just like a normal FPV drone. So then, and so when I was talking to a local friend that flies FPV, he goes, "Oh no, you don't want to do that." And I go, "Why?" Because I didn't know anything at all, obviously. And so he explained it to me. So then I adjusted it back to where it was supposed to be for manual and normal. Or I mean, not manual, normal and sport.
Right.
But apparently I didn't get the tension or whatever it is under there correct. So it went back to like acro. So, but it actually, because I had it that way, I thought, well, it's good practice. I learned something. And fortunately, I wasn't at an altitude where it crashed. I was high enough where I could catch it.
Is it Kira show says altitude is your friend.
That is correct. Just like drones, it doesn't matter, but in real flying on our airplanes. I never like sometimes they'll clear you for a intersection departure, and I always refuse it. I'll taxi back to the beginning because any runway behind me is not going to help me if my engine quits. So I always use full length, even if I've got 8,000 feet in front of me. I'll take the whole 8,000 feet. You know.
So. By the way, Grumps, can you turn your mic up, because relative to Alexis, you're a little bit quiet.
Oh, yeah, I can. Let me crank it up some more. There we go. How's that?
That's perfect here.
So in the meantime, let's go to another story or two, and we'll do that as we go and have a little bit of a chat in between. The next one is this. Chinese company Ehang has announced that its electric air taxi Ehang 216 and their delivery drone Falcon have successfully completed beyond visual line of sight trials for airport transport and parcel delivery drone services in Estonia. During the live trials, the Ehang 216 air taxi performed a flight mission of a VIP passenger transport scenario, taking them from the Tartu airport to the Estonian Aviation Museum. But of course, they did the trial without a real passenger on board. Meanwhile, the Falcon drone completed a flight mission of parcel delivery from the Tartu airport to a cargo terminal to showcase the use case and scenarios of automated parcel delivery operating at low altitude. How do you feel about this, Alexis, operating around an airport? Do you think it's a safe place to fly and to have, for example, parcel delivery?
I think that, that looks stable enough to me. I don't know about flying it, but it looks fun. But yeah, going into airports, of course it would, I don't know what they have in Australia, but in the United States, we have ADS-B. So if you're going into controlled airspace, it'd have to have all the communication like we need for that. But of course that there looks like a uncontrolled type field. So, but yeah, it looks cool. I'm up for it.
Yeah, certainly in the discussions we had previously with John, his commentary was that the airspace around an airport is the safest place to be able to do something like that, because you're communicating, you've got someone observing you at the tower level, etc. So maybe that is one of the better use cases for parcel delivery.
I don't understand how long it takes the rotors to wind down, but you would never want to make the mistake of hopping out too early.
I think that's a fair thing to agree with. I didn't notice where the rotor was with reference to their doors. Can we just put that video back up and just have a quick peek? Have a look. Just skimming along a little bit. I can't see that, unfortunately, the console where the...
Yeah, I wouldn't be stepping out of that until it was rotored down. I mean, because basically, there's no problem with it flying at an airport, because it's basically it's a manned aircraft, even though it might be remotely or IA controlled. It's still carrying a passenger, so it's still considered a manned aircraft. So I don't see a problem with it. It's just another type of, basically, it's another type of helicopter.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
So
yeah.
I don't see the problem with it. They're going to have to take and make the same clearances that, well, an ultralight that would fly into an airport. They have to follow those same procedures. So I think
Okay.
as far as drone delivery, it's just be like a small, lightweight, or as far as parcel delivery, it'd just be like a small, lightweight aircraft that's delivering, box lunches at the airport, or whatever, or delivering blood or organs or whatever. It's just a new type. It's just a different type of aircraft. It doesn't really fit what I call the definition of. Oh, I guess it's time to move on. They've changed the news title.
You took the
I
hint.
get the hint. Yeah, I got the hint. Moving right along.
Moving right along, an image of a flock of geese in flight has beaten off thousands of entries to win the top prize at the Drone Awards 2021. The pink-footed geese meeting the winter from Norwegian photographer Terje Kollas captures the birds as they make their way to the breeding grounds in Svalbard in the Arctics. Gotta love these names. The ground and the fields where they feed are covered by snow when they arrive, said Kollas. The geese tend to use the same paths, so when waiting for them in the air with a drone, photos like this one are possible. Let's have a look at some of the other awards. I'd love to have a photo competition with our viewers, get people to send in a few photos of some of the things that they've seen by drone.
Yeah.
A little secret while this is playing out, my producer loves the fact that this was a longer video.
So she can continue to play her game.
Beautiful. Really is pretty.
I don't think it was a game.
Yeah, heard the water running. Yeah, okay.
So if you want to check this out, the entire story with lots more info is available. Links in the description, as with all of our stories.
Wouldn't you hate to be up there with all those birds with your drone? I mean, really.
What did she eat? My Lord.
Okay. Look, that was cool. We're going to go to one other thing now before we finish. We'll have an informal chat at the end. And the last story of the day is titled Angry Birds. And I don't have bird as the word song here. But the caption on the TikTok for this video sums up the intense footage. And the caption said, "Everything wants to kill you in Australia, even the birds." The aggressive magpie was filmed chasing a drone before swooping on the owner. And by the way, just a quick comment on that. This is swooping season. This is the time of the year when you've actually got to be looking around whenever you're walking down the road because, yes, they do swoop down and attack you. Footage of the encounter shows the bird pursuing the drone through the sky. The bird eventually manages to knock the drone out of the sky onto the ground. Just play that again. We missed the music at the beginning. One more time.
And that's a magpie.
That's a magpie.
That looks nothing like the magpies we have in the United States. That bird is insane.
Well, there's a simple answer. We would be looking at your magpies and saying, that's not a magpie. That's a magpie.
Yeah, our magpies are definitely not like that.
Yeah, they're all black, and they're huge. They're huge.
Yeah, yeah.
When I lived in New Mexico, I used to feed them popcorn, and they were never aggressive. I was like amazed at how big they are. Their tails are probably 18 inches long.
They're huge.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a crazy looking bird. I mean, it's a beautiful bird, but it's a crazy aggressive bird. My goodness. Do they attack people?
Yeah, absolutely.
No
Everything
way.
in Australia attacks people.
I remember.
Aaron won't go there.
I remember as a primary school kid walking less than a kilometre to school in the morning or coming home and having magpies and constantly looking around. You know where they're nesting, you know where they're going to be. And some kids used to put sunglasses on the back of their heads so that he didn't know where your eyes were. And they didn't attack so much.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've seen that, and I've seen people do that in videos that from Australia. They put the sunglasses. They turn their hat around and then put sunglasses back on the bill so they don't. I guess birds aren't that smart, so that's why they call them bird brains.
Yeah. Just having a look at a few comments. X-Jet chasing birds with his drone. Joe Blaylock likes that one. And supposedly I copied Paul Hogan's joke. What did I say of his?
It's probably what I don't know. It might have been what I said. Everything in Australia tries to kill you.
I don't know. What else have we got? Magpies do that in America as well, according to Akirasho.
Yes, they. I haven't seen. Of course, we don't have magpies in Oklahoma. We do have it's a type of crane. What is that thing called? Anyways, they are a pain. They don't seem to. Oh, that's not a magpie. That's what he said.
Ah, right. Okay. Got to get a comedy writer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Just out of interest, it's been interesting in the Philippines the last little while. So our family over there has had a typhoon going and beating down. We were in Discord the other day and I shared some of the photos. I don't have them here, but it's been pretty nasty. But they kind of just get used to it. Typhoon, we have a few of them a year. That's kind of
it's like the people in Florida. They're used to, and in Louisiana, they're used to hurricanes coming through every few years. I know, because we just had this big hurricane come through here just a couple weeks ago, or a week or so ago. And the first hurricane when my youngest son was living out in on the border of South Carolina and Georgia, and the first hurricane that went through there, he was a little concerned, but then he realized everybody was going to a party, so they had a hurricane party. That's what they do there. It's like, they get out the prawn or shrimp or whatever you call them, and or the crawdads, and they boil up a big pot of stuff, and they call it lowland boil, and or they cook out and barbecue out there while the hurricane's coming through. Yeah.
Yeah, that was shrimp boil.
What did you call that again,
Yeah.
Grumps? What did you call it?
Lowland boil. A lowland boil.
No, the word starting with a P. What did you call it?
A prawn.
A pawn.
Prawn.
Now you're not putting your R's in.
I said R. I said R.
Anyway,
I said prawn.
We've got.
I'm blaming it on my mic.
Yeah. Okay. We've got to the end of the official part of the show in terms of our news, and just a reminder again, with anyone who wants to enter the competition, you need to send an email. What is the prize? So for anyone who joined late, the prize is a Wi-Fi RF booster board. In fact, 2 boards, one for your controller and one for your drone. 2.5 watts, really high power signal, helps you with range if you need range, but you also need to make sure you fly safe, fly legal. Also helps you with penetration in terms of any buildings or other structures that may be obstructing. Grumpy, where'd you go?
Just wait. I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to let it go.
I heard it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I heard your wife laugh too.
Yeah. 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 Oh, I knew you
Okay.
do that too. Yeah.
So it's something that can be useful for
help with penetration. It will help.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you enter? You need to send 2 things in an email to my email address, which is this one. I'll put it back up on the screen. Send an email. 2 things in the email. 1, you need to send a photo of something where you've used a soldering iron or a soldering iron if you don't know how to use the Queen's English. And the second thing you need to do is include some words of how a Wi-Fi signal booster board would be helpful or beneficial to you in what you're doing. Send that in and we'll get Coldflake to judge those. So we've reached the end of the show. Any last comments or words from you, Alexis, about what you're planning to be doing in the near future flying-wise?
Well, I am I'm excited. I've got, like I said, a local friend that does FPV, and he's going to introduce me to building FPVs, and I've got a 3D printer, and I'd like to print some of my own frames and stuff like that. And then in the real world, I'm looking at a Bonanza, a Beechcraft Bonanza to buy. So that may be my next full-size aircraft. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
Okay. And Grumps, have you got any last words or comments for the day?
Well, I'm going to take this time because Alexa made comment in the chat about my
you're freezing
here.
You're freezing, Grumpy.
Yeah, I know it. I saw it.
Keep going.
Am I back?
You're back.
Anyways, tomorrow is the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and I want everybody to remember our country and trying to keep in mind what tomorrow's all about.
And might I just add that since we're in Australia and we're always ahead of you, it's already 9/11 here.
Yeah. But tomorrow at 9:23 or 9 something in the morning is when the world 20 years ago is. And you know, I was sitting here doing some video today, and I was thinking, you know, September 10th, we were just going on along like it's just another fall day. The early fall starting out, and we're just kind of kicking back, no worries in the world. And 20 years ago tomorrow, our world changed.
Yep, 2,977 people lost their lives. And I remember I was on a college campus at that time, and I was in the administrative building, and I heard it on the radio, and I thought it was a joke. I thought it was something like War of the Worlds or something. And I told somebody, that's not real, you know, and then they said, it's on television. So I went and looked at a small TV, and so then I rode my bicycle to where I worked, which they had a big screen, and then that's when I saw the second plane or the second jet fly into the other tower. I think that was the south tower. I think the north tower was hit first.
I think so, if I remember right.
But anyway, I saw that, and that was it was surreal, just absolutely. And,
and of course,
it was nuts.
For me personally, when I remember that day clearly. I don't know for what reason or why, but I woke up in the middle of the night, and I went downstairs and watched some TV, and that's what was on the screen. Wow. And then I just couldn't believe it. I was shocked like everyone else was. And the next thing you know, I'm off to work for the day, and we had this gigantic, massive video wall of rear projection TVs together for a control center in the NOC for a large Australia-wide network. And we put up the happenings that were happening live up on the big TV on the wall. And it was not what I expected to see for the day. Certainly. And
it hits with Oklahoma. It kind of hits hard with Oklahoma's because there's just, I think, like 5 years before that, we had the Murrell Federal building that was blown up. And I remember when that happened, my daughter-in-law, and now ex-daughter-in-law, called and said that, hey, we've been attacked. You think it's terrorists? I don't know. And that was the Murrell Federal building. So here it comes along 5 years later. She calls, says, we're under attack. I said, what? And she says, yeah, the World Trade. I said, you got to be kidding. She says, no, turn on the TV. And sure enough, there it was. And I turned on the TV, and a few minutes later, the second plane hit. And, America lost its innocence. We're no longer we're no longer isolated. We're part of the big world. And I just fear what this 20th anniversary is going to bring, because we're no longer a safer world.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be quite honest, too, if I might interject something, I'm really surprised. What about you, Lloyd? That our country hasn't been attacked in a similar or maybe a different way from the terrorists. Our borders are still pretty much open, and TSA, as far as I'm concerned, as a pilot, I think TSA is a joke. I mean, that's might be the wrong word, but
yeah, there's been a lot of attacks forwarded. We've had some small attacks. We've had a few, like the guy down there in Fort Hood. That was that guy goes. Of course, it was considered a workplace environment shooting, but we know what it was. Those soldiers down there knew what it was, and we've been attacked, but not on the scale that we had. What worries me is because of the current environment in our country, I think we're due for one.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. I'm surprised stadiums are not all enclosed, because I get real concerned when I see open, like football type, what we call football. I don't know if in Australia if they call it football or something, but I'm really surprised. I mean, or like a dirty bomb in a mass crowd like that. I mean, it's a scary world.
I think they've thwarted quite a few, but I don't think they're going to be able to thwart them all. And I think the time's coming. And just like we lost our innocence and found out where we were sitting. I mean, 20 years ago at this time, I was getting ready to, I was kicking back watching TV. I didn't have a worry in the world about being attacked, although I was a little more aware of it after going through the Murrell Federal building disaster and having that hit in Oklahoma. That was more real to me than it was, than previous times. Like when the first time the World Trade Center was hit, it's like no big deal. But when the Murrell Federal building blew up and those 300 people and those children were all killed, that kind of made, so I was not as naive about it as a lot of Americans were, because they hadn't had that disaster in their backyard.
Look, at the end of the day, the world is the world. Unless we live in a closed society, there's always going to be a risk of bad things happening. And one thing that I will say in closing is that being part of a community that supports drones, we saw earlier today how drones can be used for good on the border. So the question is, can this technology be used for good for these types of problems? Unfortunately, I think the answer is probably no, because you can't be everywhere all the time. And the challenge is the only way to fix it being everywhere all the time is an Orwellian society, and that's something that none of us want either.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm.
Like I said, 20 years ago, we lost our innocence. We lost our naivete and found out we're part of the same world that Israel and all of the other countries, Northern Ireland, Britain, all of those countries have lived with terrorists for years. Well, we joined that brotherhood for whatever, bad, worse, or indifferent. We became part of that on 9/11, 20 years ago.
And
Anyway,
if Israel would commemorate their people in attacks like we do with 9/11, they would get nothing else done, because Gaza Strip and that whole area is a hotbed. I mean, it's just nuts over there.
But the point is we became part of that unfortunate brotherhood,
Totally
20
agree.
years ago. Up to that point, we lived a life of relative peace.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached that time of the show where it is time to say goodbye. Alexis, thanks for popping in lieu of our guest that we tried to get here and didn't happen for a number of reasons. Thanks, Lloyd, for being in John's chair, who wasn't here for a number of reasons.
I was going to take a nap.
I don't know if I could tell the difference between you taking a nap and co-hosting. Oh,
probably right. Yeah.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the team. That's all. Bye-bye for now.